What's going on, everybody? This is your girl, K Rich, and I am coming at you from a PK perspective. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody's having a wonderful day, a wonderful week, a wonderful month, and a wonderful year that we are almost out of. It's almost 2022. So I wanted to just come in, drop in, and just talk to you guys about something real quick. I don't plan on taking long, but y'all know sometimes the videos can get a little lengthy. But I just wanted to talk on a topic that I'm just going to quickly title Humanity and Divinity. And it's because of a lot of things that people that I know in the faith have been dealing with and discussing about. It's been just a lot. People that aren't in the faith have been having questions, opinions, observation, and sometimes judgments. But I wanted to talk about how we are navigating the divine world and the things that God has assigned for us to do, the commands of God and all of that, while still being human. And so I was looking through the scriptures, and I saw a couple of scriptures talking about the prophet Elijah and how he was dealing with Jezebel and all of the phenomenal things he had done, and a couple of other prophets as well, and just different things that were going on. So the main thing was, after this mighty man of God came before the king and the queen and made these bold statements, and he stood on behalf of God and he said all of these great things. They go down and he says, okay, if we're going to have, a God over this kingdom, if Yah be God, let him be God, and if Baal be God, let him be God. They had the whole scene where the prophets of Baal come out, and they're out there all day, and they got the altar built up, and they're wailing, and they're cutting themselves, and they're going through all of this, and the prophet of God says, why don't y'all speak a little louder? Maybe your God is asleep. And they go through all of this stuff. To me, it's like one of those stories in the Bible that I wish somebody would just make it to a movie already. And we get to the prophet Elijah, and he just douses his altar. He puts a moat around it, and it's a trench, and he douses it again. Put barrels of water. Do it again. So they're soaking this altar down, and he just a quick prayer calls upon the name of the Most High God, and God sends a fire down from heaven, consumes the water, consumes the altar, consumes all of this. Then he's all right. Now we know that Yah is God. We're gonna execute these prophets of Baal, and we're gonna stand on God. And after this great, huge, mighty exploit that goes on, and that all the people see, and everybody knows what's happening, and everyone's there, and it's this great thing of God doing, like, oh my gosh, this man is afraid. This man, dealing with the humanity that we live in, this flesh that we live in, runs. He runs from this woman who sends a threat. And he gets to this place and he's like, God, just take me out. Just because I don't want to, my humanity doesn't want to have to deal with what this woman could do to me possibly. Even though I just saw this mighty act, even though I just saw this awesome thing from God, this lady, she's been taking people. I'm going to run. And not only am I going to run, I'm going to say, just kill me. I'd rather just die right now. And it's like these stark contrasts in the Bible that I feel like we miss. We miss the humanity that we have to deal with. So a lot of times we get into conversations, I don't want to call them conflicts, but with people who are not believers, and they're wondering, if you're believing in this great mighty God, why are you having to deal with these human things? Why do you get angry? Why do you mess up? How is sin still pulling on you? How is it that you're afraid of different situations? How is it that I'm more confident in my sin than you are in your ability to sustain this holy life? It can be so much. But over and over we see people dealing with humanity. We even see Jesus himself dealing with humanity in the Garden of Gethsemane. If it be your will, God, take this cup from me. I would rather not, because of the humanity that I am encased in, because of what I'm living in, because of the issue of my humanness. I would rather not do this. I would rather not go through this. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can go through this. I'm not sure about my ability to walk after the things of God. I may even be struggling. I may have sinned, and somebody who wasn't a believer knew it, or I sinned with that person, and now they look at you like, well, I thought you were, and it takes away from us being human. It takes away from us needing the grace of God. It takes away from us having this big, great God who is so much better than us, because if we could do it in our own flesh, we wouldn't need him. If we can maintain it in our own strength, we wouldn't need him. If we could maintain it in our own flesh, we wouldn't need him. That's humanity right there. Somebody calls me when I'm doing the video. But we wouldn't need him. They and it's like we almost begin to question, because I got to the point where if you want me to be holy, God, and I want to be holy and set apart, why am I struggling? Why do I go through this? And we see different things in different books and different stories or different situations. Like I remember the same prophets at the well, and God sent him to the brook, and he says, I'm going to sustain you here at this brook, and I'm going to have a raven to come and feed you and sustain you with meat and bread at different times of the day. And it says, it just goes from, that's what God said, and it says, and the brook dried up. And I'm sitting there like, so you're meaning to tell me, this is my own imagination, that this guy started off at a brook that was obviously flowing. It had enough water. It was plentiful. It was a bountiful place. But he stayed there, and day after day and week after week, he watched this brook dry up slowly but surely, gradually. It's not flowing as fast. It's not as much water. I'm seeing it dry up until it dried completely up. And he had to stay there and trust God and believe that God's going to sustain me. And I'm like, what went through this man's mind? What could have been going through his mind to keep him there, to trust God? It wasn't like he was just aloof or didn't have to deal with the famine that he proclaimed, with the drought that he proclaimed. He had to still deal with the drought in his flesh, though the supernatural within him, the divinity within him, the indwelling of the Ruach HaKodesh within him allowed him to make such a bold statement and allowed him to be at that point. He still had to live this thing out in the famine, in the drought. And even when God gave the next word to go to the widow woman to sustain him, he had to live through the drought until it was over with that widow woman, with putting that hand in that cup of meal and putting that oil, the cruse of oil, every day, every time they needed. It was the same amount. It looked the same, but to trust that every time they reached in, it would be enough. Like, I think that there is so much that we can miss when we pull out the humanity and say, because I'm a Christian, or other people may put that light on us, because you're proclaiming to be a Christian or a follower of the Most High, or the follower of the Messiah or the Mashiach, whatever you want to call it, that I'm somehow living in a perfected state, in a perfect setting, and no longer having to deal with the issues of life, with the issue of humanity, with the issues of the flesh, with what comes along on this ride of being on earth in humanity. And that is not true. And it takes away from how dope God is. Crazy. God is dope. How dope God is, no pun intended, to sustain you through it, to get you through it, to make sure that I can do it. And I'm not doing it through my own strength, but I'm doing it through the God in me, right? The God, his presence within me, pushing me, pulling me, anointing me, gracing me, mercying me along the way. Because I need him to do so. And without him, I am in a state, without God, I am in a state of total depravity. There is no good thing that dwells in the flesh. All of that stuff is scriptural. It's there. But we somehow can lose that and feel like I have to function outside of this human state in this human realm, and it's not so. So I just want you guys to allow yourselves to be human. The emotions come, and the faith in God is that when the emotions comes, when the thoughts come, when the flesh kicks in, that I can rely on him and trust in him and what he says, and that his report and his word overrides my temporary feelings, my momentary feelings, my temporary thoughts, my momentary thoughts, and I can live in a place where I am fully dependent on him. So I just want to encourage you guys. It's okay to be human. That would be like, I'm so saved that I'm not hungry. That's a part of being I'm so saved I'm not thirsty. I'm so saved I don't have to go to the bathroom anymore. It just, the anointing pulls it out of my pores. Like, no, you're still here. You're still this, right? So I just want you guys to not be so hard on yourselves, not let people condemn you of the humanity of the fact that you are a human being. You're a flawed being. You're encased in this flesh, and you have to work this thing out until you are transitioned on to the next, be it by the grave or be it by the coming of the Most High, right? I just want you guys to be able to function and not have judgment, function and not feel guilty of just being, of just existing. I'm not so saved that I don't need the breath that I breathe. I'm not so saved, I'm not so anointed now, I'm not so elevated now with the Most High that I don't need, I don't need to drink water. We are here in this body. And that a part of what we're doing and a part of being in the flesh and being human is what gives God the glory. It gives the Most High the deserved glory. So I just want to encourage you guys in that and let you know that, yeah, you're going to be human. You're here. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to be imperfect. You're going to have thoughts. You're going to have desires. You're going to have all of this. And it doesn't take away from the fact that you are redeemed. And you can be redeemed if you're not. That you are a child of the Most High, and you can become a child. You can get in sonship with Him and covenant with Him if you're not. But you still are, even though you have to deal with the flesh, right? Even Paul says he has to buffet his body. In other words, I got to beat back my flesh. I got to discipline it and beat it back. And somebody, one of my sisters taught last night, and she was like, the highest form of love is discipline. And you'll find that in friendships, you'll find that in relationships, but it's crazy that you have to find that in yourself too. When you really love yourself, you'll see it in the discipline. You'll see it in how you carry yourself. You'll see it in how you orchestrate your life. So I'm just here to tell you, man, love yourself. And it's okay. We are all human. We're all going through this thing. Everybody's experienced it, and it's okay. And you're not less than. You're not saved. You're not dedicated. You're just here. So I want you guys to do what I want you to do every time I'm on here. And of course, that is go be great. Peace.